Welcome to Fuse News. I'm Georgina Sockett and these are this week's headlines. Updates on the conflict in Ukraine and the celebrity response. The NUS calls universities to break links with colonial companies. The Curry Mile is the most polluted street in Europe. Petrol, energy and electricity prices are rising exponentially. And the SU election votes finish today. Tune in to the results live stream tomorrow evening.
On February 24, 2022, Russia launched a full-scale military invasion into Ukraine. And since then, fighting has caused several hundred civilian casualties and millions of Ukrainians to flee into neighbouring countries, including Poland, Bulgaria, Slovakia and more. We are now on day 17 of the conflict, and the situation is critical as ever for Ukrainians. Young men have found themselves defending their country and its cities, whilst millions of women and children are struggling to find shelter despite widespread efforts to help them. On a national level, the UK government has promised to let extended families of British citizens come to the UK and has promised to take 200,000 Ukrainian refugees. However, the reality that an interview with another student has revealed is that it is near impossible to enter the UK, and most refugees are stuck in continental Europe while they wait to get English visas. The University of Manchester has also offered some help, including the possibility of cancelling fees for Ukrainian students, and several talks aiming to educate people about the crisis have been happening in the last few days. It is unclear at the moment how much exactly is being done and how effective these measures have been and will be in the future. As the situation in Ukraine continues to escalate, in Manchester people have taken to the streets to say no to the war. This Saturday, Piccadilly Gardens was draped in Ukrainian flags as a large crowd gathered to show their support for the war-ravaged nation. The protesters were diverse, many of them Ukrainians themselves, or people with family and friends in Ukraine. Others, however, were Mancunians attending out of a sense of solidarity. All of them, however, with one common goal in mind. Amid chants of "Stop Putin, Stop the War," Ukrainian nationalistic songs and speeches from a diversity of people was a sense of common purpose, a sign that even 1,600 miles away, the battle for the soul of Ukraine goes on. Among the chief demands was a no-fly zone over Ukraine, something NATO leaders continue to resist due to the risk of escalating the war with Russia. Many Ukrainians, however, say they feel abandoned. As the war drags into its second week, it shows few promising signs of abating. However, for Manchester's Ukrainian community this week, a brief moment of hope in a time of great darkness. Similarly to Ukrainians, Russians are now unable to go back home, and many of their families are attempting to flee the country as they find themselves in unstable territory in Russia. On a financial level, those who are relying on family funding to pay for their studies are finding themselves penniless following the downfall of the ruble and the blockade of transfer systems to and from Russian accounts. The university has not yet addressed whether they would provide any help to Russian students. Here's Lottie with more on celebrity support for Ukraine.
The invasion of Ukraine has received significant media attention and response, and various celebrities have used their platform to try and harbour change and support. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher have launched a GoFundMe to support Ukrainian refugees and pledged to match donations up to $3 million. The funds will go towards Flexport, which is delivering resources and relief supplies to non-profits on the ground, and to Airbnb, which will support housing and the cost of living for those who are taking refugees. Similarly, J.K. Rowling has stated she will personally match donations up to $1 million in support of children in Ukraine, after her Lumos Foundation launched an emergency appeal. Major Hollywood studios, Warne Brothers, the Walt Disney Company, and Sony Pictures will not release their latest films in Russian cinemas in response to the conflict in Ukraine. The films are being withheld from Russian release are The Batman, Turning Red, and Morbius. Taking a different approach, former 90210 star Anna Lynn McCord posted a video of herself reading a poem she had written addressing Putin. The spoken word message begins, "If I was your mother."
Dear President Vladimir Putin, I'm so sorry that I was not your mother. If I was your mother, you would have been so loved, held in the arms of joyous light. Never would the stories plight the world unfurled before our eyes, a pure demise of nations sitting peaceful under a night sky. If I was your mother, the world would have been warm.
The video has been viewed over 23 million times and has been met with bafflement and criticism. Many Twitter users have drawn parallels to the Imagine video published by celebrities at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. McCord adds that she hopes to raise awareness about the changes needed within education systems to protect children and stop creating dictators and abusers and enslavers and rapists and bullies. On to Georgie with the news on the Manchester Clean Air Policy.
A report has been released with the most polluted streets in Manchester, the Curry Mile being amongst them. This comes as Andy Burnham's plan for a carbon-free Manchester by 2058 has been set back. In a letter to the Prime Minister, the Greater Manchester Mayor called for a non-charging scheme instead of a clean air zone, which would help fund vehicle upgrades. The bid has been backed by all 9 Labour council leaders in the city region, and Bolton's Conservative leader has said he would support no charges too. Burnham said, if Greater Manchester reaches a position where we can clean our air without imposing large fines on small businesses, there'd be nobody happier than me. We're prepared to look at any reasonable proposition. What we're seeing at the moment is that the existing scheme clearly doesn't carry popular support.
Voting is now closed for the lead MCR student union officer roles, which were altered this year. Voting opened on March 7th and closes on Thursday the 10th of March at 5 p.m, with results to be released on the 11th of March. Tune in to Fuse TV to find out who will be leading your students' union and who will help to make changes within the university. Through last week, candidate question times were held, which gave candidates a platform on which to express their motives. The full manifestos can be read on Lead MCR and on posters around university buildings. To vote, go to the Students' Union website and go through the Lead MCR link. The US and UK have banned oil and other energy imports from Russia as an economic sanction for Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the EU is also ending its reliance on Russian gas. According to the US President Joe Biden, this move targeted the main artery of Russia's economy, while the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the noose is tightening on Putin's regime. Kwasi Kwarteng, the UK Business Secretary, noted that Russian oil and oil products such as kerosene and naphtha only currently meet 8% of UK demand. However, as for diesel, Russia meets 18% of UK needs. Until March 7th, UK fuel prices have soared to a new record high, with the average cost of a litre of diesel rising to £1.55. AA fuel price spokesman Luke Bostet said that a year ago the pump prices were rising steadily after the pandemic slump. £1.25 a litre was bad news, but £1.55 was unimaginable. On to more sombre news, here's Georgie with a tribute to the late cricketer Shane Warne.
Arguably one of the greatest cricketers of all time, Shane Warne died last week at the age of 52 of a suspected heart attack in Thailand. He was an Australian cricketer and one of the greatest spin bowlers in history. Tributes have been flooding in from people all over the world, saying how this comes as a great shock and sadness. His death came on the same day as fellow Australian cricket icon Rod Marsh, to whom Warne paid tribute on Twitter only a few hours prior to his own death. He bowled what is known as the ball of the century. At Old Trafford in Manchester, Shane Warne bowled his first ever ball against England at Mike Gatting. With his first ball against England in his first Ashes test, Warne produced a spectacular, never-seen-before delivery that bowled Gatting out. It became recognised as being of significance not just in the context of the match, but more generally in signalling a revival of leg spin bowling. He changed the game of cricket for the better, an amazing man gone too soon. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Fuse News. I've been Georgina Sockett.
And I've been Lottie Plale. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow to watch the live SU election results.